Alright, so I'm going to be doing a review of Star Trek Defiant. This was another comic sent to me by my good friend Chris. Chris, thank you once again. This was part of the Indie Haul / the Christmas comics that he sent me. He also sent me the Mirror War one, so that was the last one on the Star Trek list. So thank you again for that, brother. But yeah, so let's talk about Star Trek Defiant. Star Trek Defiant was part of basically IDW's new relaunch of the Star Trek books that started with Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanning doing a story with Cisco. I'll explain more of that in a bit. I did do a review of that comic a little while ago, like a couple weeks ago. And this is the sister book to it. This spun out of that Star Trek book. So to catch you up, basically what happened, because it does involve this. Cisco had returned from the Prophets and with a message that someone was killing godlike beings in the universe. Well, he basically got together a team of Crusher, Worf, Data, Paris from Voyager, Scotty, and sent them and went out to find out who was killing them all. Who was killing them all was a group called the Red Path, led by the clone emperor of Kahless. And Kahless is basically go around killing gods because that's what the Klingons did. But Kahless has basically created a group called the Red Path and is killing gods and upsetting the cosmic balance of the universe and making a new Klingon empire in the process. Now, the big thing with this is that during all of this, Worf discovers that one of the members of the Red Path is his son Alexander, and it puts a split between him and Cisco, leading to Worf is leaving and finding his way to a planet that is a Romulan-controlled planet, but also home to Ambassador Spock. After he and Spock reacquire the Defiant through illegal means, if those who remember, Spock can live that long, and the reason why I know people say is why is Scotty there in the TNG timeline? Because remember the whole Dyson Sphere thing. So yeah. I really hope in this comic, and maybe they do it in the upcoming event I'll talk about in a bit, but I really hope we get a moment with Scotty and Spock, who are basically the last two members in this who are alive in this timeline of the TNG series, of the TOS series. So maybe that happens in the upcoming storyline I'll talk about in a bit. So basically this story is Spock and Worf stealing the Defiant and making their own crew, which consists of Lore, who has lost the emotion chip, and he's a little more saner, I would say. B'Elanna, from the character from Voyager. Ensign Ro is back, and we also get a new character from the Orion Pirates. Plus, we also get Sela in here too, if you know, Tash's, daughter. So, anyway, so this comic is basically like a X-Force of Star Trek. It's like Star Trek X-Force. That's really what it is. It's a blacklist group that is trying to stop Kahless and figure out where he's going in this whole weapon that is being forged. I really like this book. It's a really neat book of having Worf as Worf leading this ragtag group of characters who you would not expect. I really like also having Worf and Spock. This character who plays more on emotion and one who plays by logic. You also have Lore, who has some fun lines in here. They basically got together the right characters to play off of each other. This comic is written by Christopher Cantwell, who most of you guys know best. He did an Iron Man run. He also wrote a really good Doctor Doom maxi series. He's also currently writing the Thanos miniseries going on right now. And the guy knows his shit. The guy knows his Star Trek shit. And I'm also really happy that, these new IDW Star Trek books are, not just written by Joe Schmo or whoever. They're actually being written by credible writers. And I really do appreciate that. I really do like that these are being written by credible writers and are actually, have fucking effort put into them. So there's always a good level of that. The comic does end. The comic basically does have it end because it leads to an event called Day of Blood, where it's basically Cisco and Worf's crews respectively team up to battle Kahless after they discover his whole god killing weapon. Again, that comic's been out. It's coming out in trade. I want to get it when it comes out in trade. But first, I got to get the second volume of Star Trek, called Star Trek: The Red Path, because that better explains what's going on there. So yeah, it's all like one big tie. It's all like ties together. But anyway, I digress. The comic, the one drawback I have is that a lot of the characters are a little too over-aggressive with each other, like especially B'Elanna and Ro, who were part of the Marquise, but both of them had like varying degrees of loyalty to it, so they're kind of at each other's throats, and I'm just like, why do the two female characters have to be at, hate each other? That's every media ever. It's every media ever where we have two female characters just kind of bicker at each other. I will say that also Worf's over-aggression at points, well, they do explain because he does suffer an injury and he has to be hopped up on, like, adrenaline for a bit. It does wear a little bit, because I'm like, guys, Worf is a lot more level-headed than you guys give him credit for. Come on. But all in all, it's a solid book. I do really think it's a solid book, and it's really cool to see all these characters who you would never expect to see at any point work together. It's a really cool book. I really enjoy the fact that they have all these characters and whatnot that you would never get to see in a show actually, speak to one another. And the dialogue's written well enough where I can literally, and this goes for the Star Trek book too, where I can hear every actor's voice. So that's always a plus. Anyway, so there you go, guys. That is pretty much my review of Star Trek Defiant. I do want to get Star Trek The Red Path and Star Trek Event Day of Blood. So I want to get those as soon as possible so I can read those books and then probably do a review of both, and maybe because I really I'm curious to see how this event all plays out with the Kahless clone and everything else. But anyway, so once again, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the multiverse.